Hi, I'm Fede Pacheco, alongside my co-host and friend Helane Cohen with another episode of No Slides Attached.
Hey, Fede, we've had such an exciting second season. Over the past 7 episodes, we've had 7 different partners from all around the Americas, and they were able to share their perspectives on how AI is transforming their industries. And now we want to celebrate those conversations with something special.
That's right, because if you listen to every episode, you might have noticed that we asked the same questions repeatedly to all of our guests because we really wanted to compare how they envisioned their industries shaping up with AI.
Yeah, we sure did ask those questions. And one of the most critical questions we asked in every episode is, what is something that AI hasn't achieved yet, but you're optimistic that it will in the near future?
Yeah, and they gave us super insightful answers into what they expect their industries will be for 2025, this new year, and beyond. So now, in the next few minutes, you will hear the highlights of all their perspectives that these leaders in these industries from different companies and different fields, what is something that's critical that they might expect to change really soon that AI is going to help them achieve.
Yeah, and I know I learned so much, so I hope that as you're listening to this that you really enjoy the highlight reel. And if you want to learn more, remember that all 7 episodes are now published and they include specific advice on how you as a partner can achieve more in these industries in 2025. The potential for generative AI in healthcare is estimated to reach $1 trillion in unrealized improvement potential. So, what is something that AI hasn't solved for in the healthcare industry yet, but you're really hoping it does in the future, or something maybe you can give us a sneak peek into that you're already seeing?
We're doing a pilot around this, and we're just on the edge of talking about this. But I get really excited about this because it feels Hollywood like. But we the genomic research is so interesting right now, and there's all these biomarkers in everyone's DNA. And what's fascinating to me, and where I hope to see AI get to, is that when somebody comes in, think about the forms you fill out of all the things you've had in your life and all your history, and you're trying to remember, did my grandmother have something? You're putting all this down. What if we could capture all of that information and more just by looking at your DNA? What if we could assess and prescribe what type of medicine is actually going to have the best impact? What type of radiation or what type of chemo, what type of therapy is actually going to work for you the best by just looking at the patterns and the biomarkers in your DNA? It could go for treatment plans. It could go for proactive plans to help folks, proactively prevent themselves or preventative care. And as we get into value-based care, which is becoming really important, there's just such an awesome opportunity to take more data than we ever thought would be possible to consume and process, and actually leverage that to get much more proactive and understanding how individuals' bodies will respond to different treatments. And I think we're just scratching the surface there. But it gets me really excited to think about if you could just take DNA and prescribe for me medicine that's going to have the most positive impact and the least side effects. And so I do think it's a little aspirational, but I mean, think of where we were 5 years ago. We're getting close.
So I think, to be honest, we're at the tip of the iceberg. This is just a rudimentary way of applying AI in the industry today. We apply it to what is the product and pricing part of the equation, but the biggest applications you're seeing today is summarization of data for customer service at banks and in other industries, the same thing. But we really haven't cracked, I think, the full application of AI. I think partly that is because there's still things that need to be resolved, right? The application of AI into a industry that cannot deal with hallucination of the AI is of concern and has to be resolved. But there's ample potential of that in the future. Now, think about your own situations and your own personal situations. Like the financial services industry deals with 2 things: money at movement and money at rest. That's all it does. And so now when you think about your own homes, you say, well, I just got a mortgage or I've got my accounts, but think broader than that. Everything that comes in and out of your home is what I call a data stream. You've got a data stream for your gas, your data stream for your electric bill. That's just data. Okay, there's a utilization of it, but there's data coming in and out of your home, right? The supermarket bill is data. And so when you start to think about it, all of these data streams have money applied to them, either money at rest or money in movement. So now the question is, how can I bring all of these things together to improve the livelihoods of the people who live within the house? How can I use that data with AI to essentially uncover situations or benefits for the persons who live in there? Can I reduce, or can I help the person reduce their electric bill? Can I help them identify that maybe their washing machine is about to clunk out? So there are many things that can be done. And then, by the way, can I give you a loan for that washing machine, right? So there are many things that if it's a data stream and you understand what's going on with that data, then you can start to innovate from a product and pricing standpoint, from a bank product pricing standpoint. So the application of this is massive. We're just scratching the surface.
Let's talk about stuff that you haven't achieved yet, but you're really excited to solve for in the immediate or not so immediate future. Because I'm sure you, with your role, you have a bunch of things in mind, Brian.
Yeah, for sure. I love this question. So, as a company, we have publicly declared what our moonshot is, and for us, it is reducing the number of deaths that happen between police in our communities. Fatal police fatalities by 50% over the next 10 years, right? And so that is a bold and audacious thing. But we look at just the way that our communities interact with public safety and say, hey, look, there is a lot that we can do there on this goal to achieve this reduction in fatalities. And at the heart of that is, really is this our belief that, look, as a society, we can choose to solve that in a lot of different ways. Some of them may be policy oriented. Some of those, could be other things. For us, we're a technology company, so we think about it through the lens of technology. In our case, every time an officer is in a situation where they feel that their basically best option and their only option is reaching for a lethal tool, aka a gun, that's sad, right? So we want to create technology that does a few different things. One is, can we create technology that de-escalates a situation well before it kind of comes to this split-second decision of, am I reaching for a gun or a different tool on my belt? All the way up into, can we provide a set of tools on their belt, such as the taser, that instead of having this decision of like, hey, do I potentially use a lethal force option, I can actually 100% rely on this other thing so that I don't feel compelled to use a firearm.
Yes, we're definitely going to see AI performing more tasks without human intervention. And then that's going to allow our workers to increase the capacity of what, and the value they can drive for the company. So right now, AI is doing a lot of things like predicting, but human intervention, forecasting, with human intervention. I think we're going to see more and more of higher trust in AI, more and more AI being, built within the framework of different business processes to take things that are common tasks, pretty basic, like the rules for making a decision are pretty standard, and just automatically doing that for the workers, so that workers are going to be focusing on more complex, impactful tasks. So as far as what, like your original question of what, hasn't been solved or in the future, I think we're just going to see it in all different areas. Retailers, in general, and consumer goods companies, they're already hungering for artificial intelligence. So they already know they need to find out what it can do for them. Many have already researched and started identifying what it can do for them. And you're just going to see more and more of that. So it'll be interesting.
Is there anything that you can think of, that's like way out there that AI hasn't really solved for yet in education that you would love to see for the future?
Yeah. So, and it's something we're working on. So,
I
Of
love
course.
that.
so right now is how we start using AI to, on one side, make more easier the process of admissions at college, but also making it more equitable. Because with AI now we can manage to understand larger sets of data in an easier way with data from a standardized test, but also data of everything that the student is doing. And it helps also to build records from students from high schools with all the skills that they have developed. We can have data from the badges, the certifications that they have, data of what they did outside of the classroom, and really creating more, I will call it holistic admissions processes that become more equitable on one side, but also that creates a faster process for admissions. And I will give two examples. On one side, in the Latin American world, is how that's our business is US and Latin America mostly. In the Latin American world is first how we standardize and make it easier for institutions to read documents and validate documents of students. Because in the case of Mexico, for example, you still need to go to each college that you want to apply and bring your, documents there. They review them. They see that they're verifiable, that they're valid. And that creates a problem on access. A student that lives in Oaxaca, for example, and wants to go to a university in Mexico City, if they don't have the money to take that trip, forget about it. They're not going to that university. And on the other side, while we're already like having the full admission test online, they can take the test at their home, they cannot do the full application. So what we're doing is how we're using AI to verify documentation, verify identity. And we're also using other technologies as blockchain for issuing verifiable credentials of the students, so that all that admission process becomes very effective, creates access, and is cost effective also for the institutions. That's on one side. And then the other side, when we think of the US, is how, and to your previous point, like in Latin America, universities are free, almost free, we can say. In UNAM in Mexico, people pay a peso, that is like less than a cent of a dollar for a semester. It's just a symbol, I think, that they are paying something. But in the case of the US, higher ed has become expensive. And some students are saying, hey, I don't want to get that big of a loan to get into college. I don't know what's the return of my investment after going to college. And a lot of what we're doing is how we start using the data to connect, on one side, the curriculum to job market requirements, and now start telling a student, hey, if you go into this program, your chances and your probabilities of getting a job, earning this money, increases in this percentage. And your return of investment will be in 2-3 years. You will finalize paying your loan in this amount of time. And by using and putting all that data together, now we can even guide students and tell them, hey, based on the data that we have from you, these are the most efficient pathway for you, cost effective, time effective, for them to get the job that you want in the future and earn certain amount of money. And within that, all that AI capacity help us also, and this is something big in the United States, to start streamlining credit for prior learning processes. And maybe for the people that is hearing us, credit for prior learning is, hey, you have previous experiences or certifications, how we transform that into credits so that you spend less time at college. So what we're doing there now is mapping the data of previous experience 2 credits, mapping the data of previous certifications to credits. And normally the process for institutions to say, hey, I'm going to give credit for something it's very complex. But if you help with AI, it becomes much, much easier. And in the case of the United States, with 40 million Americans with some college and no degree that didn't finish college, had still to pay their loan, this is a way of bringing them back to college, telling them, hey, that experience that you have is a semester, it's even 2 semesters of college. Come back, finish, and then get a better job. And that's a lot of the things that AI is now helping and can help to streamline and make it easier and really help people around the world to educate themselves and get better jobs in the future.
How do we connect this and the future of manufacturing with your vision at Rescale, that grown-up style, everyday job you guys have, and you're thriving at it in the era of AI?
Yeah, so I mean, the big thing that we think about there is there's a lot of companies that are approaching this problem. You have Siemens doing a lot of digital manufacturing, you have Omniverse with NVIDIA, and you can kind of go down the list. What we look at Rescale is, where do we need to be a good steward of data, of computing, and of engineering in order to really funnel that rich data set into the industrial metaverse so they can make applicable decisions in real time? And are they working off the most accurate data? Are they able to do more modeling and simulation in order to make decisive choices as they look at their manufacturing process or products and so forth? So essentially, where we're leaning in and saying, this is coming, and we understand that there's going to be VR, there's going to be a number of other components there, and there's going to be this digital world people are looking at. We are looking to lean in with our product to say, all right, in order to do that, you need to be able to have the right foundational layer for engineering and researchers to be able to do the work they do. So then when you get up the chain and you're going into methods analysis, or you're going even further to make a business decision, people are working off the right set of data and a comprehensive set of data. They know all the variables that are out there and how those are going to affect their product development, essentially.
So what I believe is that there's an opportunity to rethink a little bit the user experience. And, we've seen some on the large language model side, some generative design for type of generative AI, for type of, language models. But I believe there's a huge opportunity for different types of generative AI in the industrial use case. And that has a potential to totally change how user experience is going to be seen. Imagine, right now, if you do like a design somewhere, for example, of a plant, you have an expert that is provided with some KPIs that they're trying to optimize. So they're creating a particular design, and then compared to these, based on their expertise, and then compared to these KPIs, and then iterate with simulations, see if they hit these KPIs, and once the KPIs are fulfilled, then they're happy and submit that. In the future, I think this workflow will change, and it will go that these designs are auto-generated based on KPIs provided to the machine. The expert is then provided with optionality, so he sees multiple different options to fulfill these KPIs. This takes away this expert bias out of this generation process, and then also helps the expert to choose the best option based on non-functional requirements. So not everything can be easily captured within KPIs, and this optioneering together with the expert can then better guide to better solutions. This is something that I believe can make a big impact, particularly if you're looking at the energy transitions. There's many applications that need to be very customized, and there's just not enough manpower there to create all these customized deployments to really achieve our net zero goals in the end. So this automation and this flexibility that is enabled by AI is really key to solve and unlock these challenges, in my opinion. So there are other opportunities. I already mentioned the small language models that I think is something very interesting. Also, you indicated before that there's some challenges around compute and energy consumption from training large models like foundation models. So I also think there's a lot of interest in new technologies like neuromorphic processing and other very efficient ways to reduce energy consumption in this space as well.
And with that, we've showed you just a little bit of the perspectives of 7 experts in their respective industries. What did you think, Fede?
Well, I just think it's super helpful and kind of different to hear the same question from all the different angles. I know we were there for every single second of those conversations, but now it makes me see them differently. And I kind of want to go back and see them again.
For sure, Fede. I also want to go back and make sure that I listen to all these episodes again. I learned so much the first time. I'm sure the second time I'll get a whole nother set of learnings. So, and for our listeners, we definitely want to know what you also think of these perspectives. Do you notice particular themes across industries? Remember, you can always get in touch through the America's Partner Community on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing from you soon, and stay tuned because we have more No Slides Attached coming to you real soon. We hope today's conversations have ignited fresh perspectives and inspired you to take new opportunities in this changing landscape of AI.
Stay tuned for more insights and stories on No Slides Attached. Be sure to listen in and follow us at noslidesAttached.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.